Hello, I'm Colleen Condon and welcome to Porch Chats. This is a Charleston County Democratic Party opportunity for you to get to know our candidates. We have a primary election coming up June 9th. And in fact, in this race, we have two primaries on the same day, as crazy as that sounds. Good afternoon, Carol Tempel. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Colleen. I was thinking this morning we're talking about Porch Chat, and my Zoom isn't working very well on the porch, and we're a little bit before noon, so I was thinking like, oh, we're having coffee with Colleen and Carol this morning. So cheers to you, and thank you for trying again for us to get this interview going. So I really appreciate it.
Sorry for the delay. Technology is working pretty well, but we do have some glitches from time to time.
Exactly. So that's what we humans do, is try to adapt.
So if I understand correctly, people have to vote twice for you on June 9th.
Exactly. So what happened was the current representative resigned to take another position, and the timing was such that the special election and the primary are on the same day. So I think part of that is good convenience, but part of it is that people need to request two ballots for that particular election. And then with it being a primary, there may be a runoff, and that'll be June 23rd. And then the election, the special election, the real one, is on August the 11th. And then the general will be on November 3rd. So it's, for any candidate in 115, it is a very busy election cycle. And of course we have our challenges with, how to reach out to voters.
Right.
So we can't go door to door yet, and I anticipate that we probably can't do that. So I'm hoping all those relationships that I've built over time will come to play now. All I'm doing now is reaching out to people with phoning, texting, emailing, Facebook Live, Zooming, that kind of thing. So, and I'm really grateful that I have a lot of supporters who said, just mail me something to do and I will do it. So I feel like I have a lot of people beneath my wings, and that feels really good.
Oh, terrific. Now, Statehouse 115 includes most of James Island?
Most of James Island. We have some gerrymandering here on James Island. Westchester, Soligree, and some of Grimble Road is not in the district. So most of James Island, all of Folly Beach, Kiowa, and Seabrook. Yeah, those are the four coastal communities in my district.
So what do you think are the big issues that you plan to tackle when you get elected?
Well, throughout my life, Colleen, I've really tried to make a difference. I've tried to make a difference, as a family member, as an educator, as a scientist, and a community person. So I try to really stay aware of all the issues that impact us in so many different ways. And, as I'm going through this campaign, I get a lot of questions. And so it's like sorting through, well, what are the issues and things that I can do as a legislator versus somebody who's a community activist or somebody who's, actually working in a school improvement council, that kind of thing. So one of the things that I did was to survey my constituents to see, what issues were really of importance to them. I know it's important to me. Education is a priority. It's what I feel like I have the most experience in terms of having been a teacher, having been a member, the chair of the constituent school board, having worked in the district office, and then having worked as a principal in a K-8 school, a middle school, a high school. So there's no denying that education is a passion and an area of expertise. So I was encouraged that in the surveys, that also was a high priority for people in my district. And of course, you know, James Island is the island that has all of the schools. So it would make sense that education was very important to people who send their children. And most of the people who send their children to our James Island schools are from James Island and of course from Folly Beach. So education was, you know, really important. And then the second thing is I'm a scientist. My degrees, my master's and my bachelor's degrees are in biology. So biology and the environment go together. I mean, we can't separate those two areas. So I was encouraged also in the surveys to see that the environment was really important. People are concerned about the rising levels of the sea. We're very concerned about the fact that we have pollution in our creeks. In fact, I can't put my grandchildren into the creek outside our house here because there are pollutants in the water, and they're doing studies to try to figure out what it is. We know it's not from the sewage treatment plant because that has been improved and we can measure the outflow from there. So they're backtracking to try to figure this out, and it's going to take a lot of the intergovernmental actions here, because on James Island we have so many governmental entities. We've got the town of James Island, the city, we got the county areas, and then we got the PSD and so on. So so I'm glad that we're beginning to see those governmental entities working together, and I intend as a legislator to work with them as I work with them now as a community activist. So so the environment, you know, is important, protecting our marshes. You know, we've had tremendous development on these islands, and I think, you know, it's our human nature that, you know, we build where we want to live, and that's a good thing. But what we didn't take into account was the fact that the environment has to also be protected. So I think we have a generation now that really cares about the environment and sees the interactions that have to go on between the environment and the development to keep things safe. Because right now, on James Island, we have tremendous flooding in areas. Our yard is flooding. We've been here for 30 years on this particular property, and the only time we ever had flooding was with Hurricane Hugo. And in the last 5 years with the hurricanes and the big storms, our yard is flooding on a regular basis. And we can see, we can tell which plants in our yard are salt tolerant. So that's, you know, changing things. So we also know that we have to improve that infrastructure. There hasn't been a lot of attention to that, and of course it costs money. So, you know, it presents challenges. So the environment is big, and healthcare, you know, here in South Carolina, we're sadly ranked the 8th worst state in healthcare. So access and affordability are really important. We have a family that we know here on the island whose father needed a heart bypass, and because the healthcare system couldn't handle the pandemic and essential surgeries at the same time, his surgery was put off, and in the meantime he had a stroke, and so that's created a lot of problems. So to me, that's access, that we don't have the systems in place. So those were the 3 top areas. The one question area that I had one about taxes. People, you know, weren't that concerned. They just want us to spend our money wisely, which we all do. We want to budget our money for what we value and get those services that we need. And then I had a question about safety, and people felt safe on the island. So that was encouraging. So yeah,
Did you do this before the pandemic hit or during?
yes, I did it, and then I repeated the survey. The survey is open. In fact, if anyone wants to still comment, they can. Getting ready to, I'm a scientist, so data is important. So I have tabulated the responses and the degree to which people, on a scale of 1 to 5, how they feel about these issues. And I'm going to put out a report on that. And then I will have a statement that says, this is a new time. If you didn't respond before, you can add your comments now. So it'll be interesting to see what how any new concerns that have emerged because of how we're living right now.
Well, you've mentioned education as well as other topics,
Right.
and of course, you've got some special experience there. Why don't you tell our listeners about you, Carol?
Okay. Well, as I said before, I try to work in the areas where I feel like I have background and strength and interest. So, professionally, I'm really proud of the work that I did as a curriculum specialist for math and science and technology. In fact, when we were trying to make sure that all the schools had access to technology, I was able to partner and collaborate with many people in the community and the state to have a Skynet project. And that project involved me recruiting people across our community in different organizations and teaching them how we were going to wire the schools. And we produced videos and lessons and all that kind of good stuff. And then for almost a year, every Saturday, we'd gather a team of people to go to the schools and get the wires drawn. And I insisted that we have a plan because prior to my taking on this job, the wires just were everywhere. So we got it in the conduit. So I'm really proud of that. And then I'm really proud of the work that I did with NASA and MUSC. We were able to put the first student payload to photograph the Earth from space on the space shuttle. And,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And in fact, Mary Tinkler was one of the students in that project. And not only did we photograph the Earth from space, we worked with the medical university so that we could establish an actual control room at the MedU, and we were able to communicate with the astronauts, and the students would say, "Okay, you're coming up on the Atacama Desert. That's a place we want pictures of." So we were actually interacting with the astronauts because I'm really about real-time experiences. So I'm really proud of that work, and then I'm very proud of the fact that realized shortly after I took my job that I was trying to have teachers know how to do hands-on science. And the teachers finally said, we just don't have the materials that we need. And they were having to use some of their grocery money at, stores to buy cotton balls and, whatever. The real story came when I asked my daughter-in-law at dinner one night, what are you teaching? She said, well, I'm teaching that light unit, but I can't do the part with the prisms. And my son piped up and said, yeah, Mom, we went to the store to get these prisms and it was $47 to get 6 of them. And we can't afford that. And so I knew it hit home that we need to do something systemically. And so I was able to get a $5 million grant with Berkeley County School District. We leveraged our resources and we established science resource centers in both of those communities so that every child and every teacher in K through 8 would get 4 units, complete units of study with every material they needed to teach the lessons. And we did it for a fourth of the cost because we figured out that it was going to be multi-million dollars of getting every teacher a science kit. But with our resource centers, we cut it down to only 25% of the cost. And every teacher now in in Charleston and Berkeley County has these units. So I'm really, I'm all about collaboration and partnerships, because we can't do all of these things by ourselves. And we were able to find companies with an interest in science, because we know that when our students have science and math and technology skills, we can have higher levels of jobs here in South Carolina and in our own community. And we're seeing that. I mean, I don't think Boeing would have come to our area if they didn't think our students had the potential to work in their plant. So I'm really proud of that. I know we're getting close on time. When we first came to Charleston, looking at the schools, I thought they were pathetic. The buildings were in disarray. And so I organized go-see tours to take people in the community to actually see our schools. And I think that helped us with getting the bond referendum. One of the other projects I'm proud of is that I worked through the League of Women Voters with a woman named Verona Nisley. And Verona and I went out to the south end of Folly Beach, and we inventoried the wildlife and we monitored the tides, and we put together a proposal to make that area park instead of having it be developed. And then we presented that plan to County Council and Parks and Recreation and got that accomplished.
When I down near the Coast Guard station, that part?
No, the other part, Colleen, the south end, the part that is closest to Kiowa, that particular end. And then when I was on the Parks and Recreation Committee, we knew, there were no parks out here on James Island. I mean, I had to get my young kids to a playground. We had to hop the fence at Epworth Methodist Church, so we put them on swings. So I knew that green space was important. And on the Parks and Recreation, we were able to leverage some work and get 3 areas into parks. And in fact, down the block here on Sprague Street, we have Dock Street Park, which is really nice for our neighborhood, and people come from all over. So I'm proud of all that work. I'm working with the Charleston Area Justice Ministry now on housing and transportation. So what I'm hoping that voters see is that, while education is my passion and my expertise, I am a collaborator. I know how to work in partnerships. I know how to see a problem and then work with others to meet the needs. And that's one of the things I want to do when I'm in the legislature, is to work on the issues that we can at that level, but working then with our community partners.
Terrific. Well, Carol, if people want to find out more about you, what's your website? What's the best ways to get in touch with you?
Okay, well, my website is easy. It's www.caroltempel.com. And if you'd like to email me, you can.
1 second, we've got an airplane and I don't want anybody to miss that. What was that again?
The website is caroltempel.com. And on my website, I have information about voting. I have information on the COVID virus, and I have produced some videos on each of my positions that people can listen to those. And if you want to communicate with me, that's easy to email me at caroltemple.com. And I love to talk with people. So my phone number is 843-795-7857. Campaigning virtually and digitally is not my style. I'm a people person. So I'd love to hear from anyone.
Good luck, Carol, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Colleen.
See you soon.
All right.
Okay.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.